wants to lead off here?
How has Foye been playing for you, and how big a part is he to be having the NFL's best run defense?
I've mentioned this a few times. Pro's pro off the field in terms of the way he handles his business, but playing at a high level. I mean, the energy that he brings every Sunday, running around the field like a madman, yelling, screaming, and great energy, but also making plays, defending the pass as well. I think that's the one thing about his game I think that's been pretty impressive to see is taking that accountability at that second level of the defense, whether it be in zone or man match coverage, getting his hands on balls, playing with anticipation and understanding of the scheme, but not only, the preparation of maybe what's coming in these down and distances, and just tackling, getting guys to the ground. I mean, that's so much of this game as you go back to youth football. It's running, tackling, and hitting, and he's done it at a high level for us this year.
We have a couple guys said after the game that it starts with the preparation. It's been heightened in the last month or two. Is that player-driven, or is that a position coach-driven, and do you agree that it's been on point?
I think it all starts with our players, right? It's a collaborative effort that you continue to try to put your players in a position to be most successful throughout the week, but while challenging them as well during the week to give them certain difficult situations that could come up so that maybe Sundays are easier. That's the goal, is what you'd like to do as a coach. But I think our players and some of the leadership, the way that they've gone out on Wednesdays when, we've taken some of the speed off of practice, their intentionality, the discipline of how they've approached Wednesdays specifically, because that's their first day of the work week. And these guys have handled it the right way. And then you go out on Thursdays and we're able to go faster, and they've practiced hard. Like, it's not like our guys are out there throughout the week trying to take plays off and looking for vet days and guys to take reps off at all. I mean, our guys have practiced hard, and it starts with the leadership.
However, Trevor popped up on the injury report Monday on Wednesday, full yesterday. What kind of happened there?
Yeah, nothing really. He's fine.
How big of a boost has it been the last couple of days of practice, having everybody out there at least in some capacity?
It's great. It's great to get your, as much of your full team out there as we can have. Makes Mamba a little bit more, exciting as well, just because you're able to get more guys reps and, get the tempo of practice going a little bit. So it's been great to have a little bit more of a fuller unit, I guess you could say. And it's continuously creating competition within our own building, right? You're competing each week against your opponent. But, we got to continue to compete for a jersey and a helmet on Sundays. And that's what you're ultimately looking for within your team.
Since inadvertently you bringing it up reminded me. What is the Mamba period, as much as you can share? I know some listeners and some fans have asked a little bit more as to what that is.
Yeah, it's just a good-on-good period that we've been doing. Ultimately, really throughout all of training camp really is when we kind of started doing it. I guess maybe we did some in the off-season program as much as you can without pads, but it's all based on competition, and it's all graded out, I guess you could call it. Scored. It's usually racks of 3. Best of 3 wins the day. And, I think that's something we did a lot of in training camp, whether it was third down Mambas, red zone Mamba, 2-minute, 4-minute. And you're just trying to heighten the sense of competition throughout the season. It's usually a faster period, which I like. It's 3 plays and then it's over, but you're getting a little bit more full speed competition. We're not trying to necessarily scheme up each other. It's 5-man rush, cover 1 on defense, and it's playing football on offense. Like, we're not trying to run runaways and picks and meshes. It's really just, hey, you guys beat each other in a lot of ways. And so we've been doing that for quite some time, all the way throughout the whole season. We were doing it on every Wednesday and every Thursday, a period each day. But now, because we're not doing much on Wednesdays, it's become more of a third down emphasis, man coverage, go play and go win on offense and block one-on-one up front. So it's scored, it's competition. That's what it's kind of rooted in.
Did you do that previously? Tampa,
In
LA?
LA.
Okay, yeah, in LA.
Yeah, that's where it is rooted from.
You guys are 8th in the league in time of possession. I don't know if that's a stat that some coaches pay attention to, some coaches it's not as big a priority for them, but what does it speak in terms of the complementary piece and all phases sort of working together to get these wins?
Yeah, I think anytime you can control the football in a game, I think that that's something that you look to try to do in most games. Now, look, there's opportunities to be more explosive and have those 4 or 5 play drives or, sudden change where we get a turnover and we score on the first play. Like, yeah, you want to have those. Those are very necessary and important to our explosiveness as an offense, but also momentum in a game. But the sustained drives, the executing better on third downs, moving the chains, keeping the clock moving, well, it ultimately helps your defense out as well, and just keeping those guys off the grass, limiting the amount of snaps that they can play offensively, and just ultimately controlling the game.
When you first got here as a coach, I'm sure there were a couple players that stood out as leaders right away. Josh Hines-Allen, Trevor Lawrence, guys like that. But as the season has progressed, what players have sort of stood out to you as, rising to the occasion as leaders?
Yeah, I think the whole group of captains has done a great job of keeping the team, the hindsight, just understanding what the goals are. Non-captains, I mean, Devin Lloyd's one guy that comes to mind for me in my mind on defense where, he doesn't have a C on his chest, but he brings energy. You can hear him talk to the players on some of his mic'd up stuff. And then making plays and rising to some of those occasions. TJ on offense is a guy that got a number of votes to be a captain this year and has let ultimately his play speak for itself and brings it every day that he comes to work. So those are guys that, come to mind right off the top of your head without getting too much into the weeds.
How important is it to not be stubborn as a head coach? In terms of whether it's what you're calling,
right,
who's on the field, and trying to fit this guy into maybe something he's not supposed to be.
Yeah, I've been stubborn many a time, and you do typically look back at some of those decisions, whether you mention it as a play caller, a situation, a personnel grouping, a personnel decision on game day, whatever it is. And usually when you kind of go totally against the grain or you're being so stubborn that you kind of know in the moment that it may not be right, but you're trying to, whether it's a value, whether it's something that you value as a play caller or as a system or as a coach, you have to make those decisions. And I think when you are able to get other people's opinions as well to make some of your decisions, I do believe that that's important because when you're left to your own devices and your own thoughts and you don't listen to anybody else or you're not able to take some hard truths, I think that's kind of where stubbornness can come into play. But, yeah, it's definitely a constant battle that you're fighting as a coach for sure.
I was going to say, is it generally sort of accepted that most coaches are stubborn?
Yeah, I think. I mean, it's probably because you have to also stick to your guns too, right? That's the balance is whether it's culturally, whether it's the message that you're sending to your players on a week-to-week basis, change of schedules, right? Things like that, and having the flexibility to do what you think is best versus we need this, right? We need this. And so, when you have a good group of guys around you, people around you that you're able to bounce ideas off of and take some things in to be able to ultimately make the best decision that you think at the time, that is the balance for sure.
And just one more on that. How do you think the players respond to that when you admit, okay, maybe I was stubborn to this, or hey, he's not being stubborn about this?
Yeah.
How does that impact culture too?
I don't know. I think that if you're constantly putting the program and the organization first, like from our team roles of protecting the team and doing, at the end of the day, if the players, I think, feel that you're doing what is in the best interest of the Jacksonville Jaguars to go win, I think that those decisions typically get okayed as a player. If you're in the building and you believe that, and the decisions that you make maybe not all work out, and maybe not all are exactly what's best, but for maybe an individual, for the staff, whatever it is, right? For a side of ball, it might affect in a negative or positive way differently. But at the end of the day, if they believe that you are truly doing what's in the best interest of this organization to go win games on Sunday, I think it usually plays out all right.
When you hired Camp and Grant this offseason, obviously had an idea for what they would bring. How have you kind of seen them grow into, their first years within these specific spots?
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the profession that it's exciting, is giving people opportunities to grow within new roles and what that looks like. And the only way you can truly grow is with those opportunities. And so you're going to fail, you're going to succeed, you're going to have good and bad moments throughout. But I do believe that, really all three of our coordinators have done a really nice job this year adjusting to personnel, putting the players first, and trying to make it the game as fast as possible for these guys, to be able to play as fast as possible on Sundays. And, you can see Campy's, obviously the personality, the way that you want those guys to run and hit and show up on tape is something that obviously I was really excited about when I hired Campy. And then the detail of Grant, if you really look at the amount of time that he obviously puts into this thing, but also the amount of extra that we're constantly trying to push our players to do. I think that shows up in some of the level of detailed execution and situational football.
When you look at the game this weekend, Jets have pretty productive pass rushers. What type of different challenge do they bring this weekend?
Pain in the butt. Seriously, it's almost every week that you're talking about darn good pass rushers that we're constantly, seeing and preparing for, and our players have had the opportunities to rise to those challenges for. McDonald's slippery, fast. I mean, he's got one of the better spin moves out there. His speed, the power, rush, really has some ability there. And then Jermaine Johnson, Briggs has played at a high level this year for these guys. And then their linebackers, they do a nice job of activating them in some of the rush and being able to get them on linebackers, and they're fast and explosive. So, I know they're top 5 in third down for a reason. And it's usually if you can rush and cover connected-wise in a lot of ways, you can be a good third down defense. And so that's something that they've done a nice job of, and their front is a huge reason.
To the point about coaching, when you were in Tampa, you obviously got to pick a lot of your offensive staff members, and then obviously you picked your whole staff here. What is it for you when you're developing a staff that you identify, this is someone who I want to give that opportunity to?
First of all, how important is teaching to them? Coaching and teaching go hand in hand, but it's guys that I think can take what they know and be able to get it to these players, but not every single way is going to be the same. You've got to be flexible in your approach to teaching, in my opinion, because they're all different. Every player is different. They receive, gather, and execute information all differently. And so I think being a great coach is being a great teacher, and the ability to have a relationship and be able to impact and affect these guys on more than that of a professional level, like having the connection with players to be able to have an honest and open conversation, whether it's about their play or whether it's about their personal life, and how to reach them is the goal. And if they typically think you care about them a little bit more than just the X's and O's and the results, I think they'll play hard for you. And looking at the group of guys that we are with as a staff, hunger is another part that, fat and happy usually doesn't typically get it done, in my opinion. Just guys that maybe want to prove something, have an edge, that first time responsibilities, or hey, coming off of a different, unique experience that they want to go and provide this insight into this new role and responsibility. I think that those are typically some qualities that we look for.